would like to welcome Amit Chatterjee. He'll be moderating the session. So Amit leads the industry segment marketing for AP and Japan market with the Intel IoT group. And as part of this role, his focus is in driving product scaling, lifecycle management, and also go-to-market of the industry IoT solutions like supply chain, manufacturing, and energy. Amit is part of the embedded industry for more than 20 years. So he comes with very strong experience in this area and has worked with many different manufacturing companies in helping them understand the value of digital and how these different solutions can be applied to the different use cases. So pleasure to have you, Amit. It's been kind of a great few interactions we had earlier. Thank you for joining in, and then I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Amit. We are the namesake. So there is a saying that we have, right? If you throw a stone, most likely it will land on an Amit. So I think
it will land on two Amits, not even one.
So again, thank you for pulling us in, and definitely we are looking forward for the good conversations that we want to have. And with today for the panel discussion, I am joining. I have quite a few people who are coming in, who are giving us a very good perspective on different aspects of IoT adoption. And Amit, like what you have already said, you can think small, start small, and then grow bigger, right? So with that kind of a context, in not any particular order, I would like to first introduce Nishant Jairath. He's a director for Metalman Auto Private Limited. His company is engaged in manufacturing of steel, metal, and tubular fabricated automotive components. So thank you, Nishant. The second person that I want to talk about is Tejinder Oberoi. I'm pretty sure people would be aware of him in the Gujarat circle. He is chairman and director for GEIS SIA IT organization. It's actually pretty interesting to see a not-for-profit organization specifically on IT side, because I'm pretty sure everybody is interested in making more and more money. So that is definitely the case, and you have a very fantastic goal of strengthening the IT infrastructure for Gujarat, and I'm assuming that it will also take it over for whole of India as well as beyond, right? After that, I would like to move into Arvind Vedavit. He is a co-founder and director for Arvish Consulting Private Limited. It's a management company which focuses to deliver and create sustainable products specifically for your IoT journey. So they can be a very valuable partner to kind of start working together with and understand what are the challenges that can be solved together. Because remember, IoT is a partnership. It is not a single person's job, to be very frank with you. It takes, I don't want to call it takes an army, but it definitely takes a very nice team together, right? The next one that I want to talk about is Ashish. Ashish is Chief Digital Officer at CK Birla Group Company. He has been in the industry and have been in the consulting for a long time, projects involving mining, metal and manufacturing. He actually has been doing Industry 4.0 and supply chain for quite some time. So thank you, Ashish. We would be looking forward to your, I would say your thoughts and things that you have gone through and experienced. Last but not the least, I would like to introduce Mr. Pankaj. I believe Mr. Pankaj will be slightly late, so I just want to quickly introduce him and then we can move on. So Pankaj Trivedi, he is based out of Gujarat. He is a CEO for Hydro Pneumatics Technics Private Limited, and he's also a director for Setu Foundation. So he would bring us the perspective of small enterprises sitting out of Gujarat. So this is essentially what the whole panel is all about. You have a mix of end customers or end users who will give us a perspective of what value they have seen of adopting IoT. And then we have a good number of consulting companies and consulting partners who can give us a perspective of what is happening and how have they seen value for in their organizations that they have worked with, right? So this is essentially what we wanted to cover. First thing first, I think we want to just take the first statement out. I read in one of the reports by Gartner that IoT has passed the hype cycle, right? So that means it's essentially dipping down, and people are trying to feel that maybe IoT is far too hype, maybe it is not yet ready. So just a simple thing for everyone to start with: is IoT really real? is it really still a buzzword or something that is far off? So maybe few people to start with. Maybe Ashish, you want to start?
Okay, thank you, Amit. And let me begin by thanking NASSCOM for this opportunity here, and also very good afternoon to everybody. So, IoT, as I see it, Amit, is the hype cycle definitely there, but I would say, and I think you have covered it, and also Amit Saluja covered it in the beginning. Few large corporations have seen the adoption in to a large extent, but the percolation deep down is yet to happen. And as I would see it, and I'm borrowing words here, that um, a strategist, Mr. C.K. Prahalad, had once quoted, "Fortune lies at the bottom of the pyramid." And that's where I see this entire thing panning out. The MSME sector is the backbone of our society. So I would see that the adoption of IoT would percolate even more, and has to go down much more from here. So I'm sure as we go from here, we would share a lot of case studies and also projects that we have implemented. But my take on this is that the down cycle has not yet started. If we see it just moves from one segment to the other, and now I believe would be the time of the MSMEs to start adopting it. So back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashish. So now that I have one end user, before I move to Nishant, I would like to go to second, more of a consultant. So Arvind, your take.
Well, of course, though we talk about the hype cycle, typically Gartner talks about where we stand. But as Ashish says, the bottom of the pyramid is yet to taste the IoT, right? They might be in the process of doing some POCs and some pilot versions, but not to an extent of taking into the entire department to see the result, how they're going to achieve some tangible results. Maybe intangible results they do see in terms of organizing their own ecosystem, but yet they are afraid about the people who come forward to support them. They're scared that likes of Intel, their chipset would cost more. The likes of consulting coming from KPMG previously, the cost factor is where it all matters for them. So if we bring up the effective costing and the right ecosystem, what NASSCOM is trying to enable us, and bridge that gap between MSMEs and the large corporations within India, we will be able to do a much wonders than what we are seeing today.
No, thanks, Arvind. So you talked about few points about cost and value. I'm definitely going to ask you more on that particular part. But before I jump into that, Nishant, what's your take at IoT hype cycle, or your take at IoT per se?
Say for that, I don't know about IoT to be honest, but one thing I'm quite confident that people have started realizing that digital transformation is something that is picking up the buzzword, and IoT is just a part of it, right? If I talk about small and medium-sized companies, they are hardly able to differentiate what is IoT, what is Industry 4.0, and what is digitization and digitalization. From that purview, I believe that IoT was always the buzzword, right? Everybody was, I mean, even in our automotive components, everybody wanted to implement IoT without realizing what IoT is. IoT is basically sensors connected to the internet, right? It's not the entire digital transformation. So I think for people to really understand that the buzz around IoT is not IoT, but the digital transformation. So it's a much more broader world. That is what I perceive.
No, thank you so much, Nishant. In fact, for that matter, I personally like to call IoT as intelligence of things rather than an Internet of Things, right? Because at the end of the day, just connecting few equipment together, which is have been there in the embedded world for quite long time, but without driving the value out of the data, it doesn't matter. And when you come to data, IT, our biggest partner, is like always needed, right? Without a proper, I would say now there is a world of a convergence that is happening where all your different equipments are starting to talk to each other. They are going to be interacting with each other, and there is no nomenclature or difference between what we call it as a pure IT play versus a operational technology which is going into, let's say, a plant, right? So Mr. Rajinder, your take at what is IoT and your take on it from an IT point of view? How are we prepared in terms of that?
Amiji, I represent the industry. The GASIA stands for Gujarat Electronic and Software Industries Association. And what we look at is, when we look at the industry, I think we are still touching the tip of the iceberg. We've not even penetrated or touched it. If you look at how the IT industry has conceived itself in the last few years, we've primarily been sitting into our own offices and working on softwares, only on software and the data that came in. And now here is a situation where possibly we need a good interconnect with the industry. So we've currently been working either in the accounting side of the thing or the e-commerce side of it. We have not really moved or worked into a physical machinery world. And most of that stuff that we got into the machinery world was imported from countries like Japan and China and Taiwan. We never really have worked into it. Now that the devices have started getting affordable, there is a need, because this side of the industry is, the IT industry has not visited shop floors. And while they hear and listen about a lot of 4.0, we actually need a part of this industry to be on the shop floors to understand what industry 4.0 implementation requirement is. So theoretically, while we've learned about it, we've heard about it, the connections that are being made are still being made with the retail or the open-ended or the front-ending technologies. Let's say you see a lot of implementation happening in the e-commerce deliveries. So a lot of things have happened in that sector, even if they're using a lot of IT only for the mobile device, from the mobile device. But implementations which have to happen deep into the industry with the machinery, I think somewhere down the line, we need to take our people and show them the industry shop floors, how they work, get them engaged, share our problem statement, industry problem statements, before we can even start getting solutions from the IT industry on the IoT pieces. That is my take on it. I think we've just started touching the iceberg.
No, thank you so much. You actually touched upon few interesting topics. So if I just want to summarize on that part, one is definitely the understanding of what is IoT and kind of go into the shop floor and try and attach that. And the second portion that you did talk about is, where do you start? What do you start? How do you even engage? So what are your, so see, before we actually go and say that, okay, this is an IoT deployment, or this is how you, these are the particular solutions that are available, go pick and choose. But before going there, I always hear that, can you at least list out your requirements? Like when you start, for example, IoT deployment, what are the benefits that have you seen? Are there any relatable things that we can bring out? So maybe Nishant, just to directly reach out to you, are there anything that you have seen directly in your organization when you say, how have your journey been so far?
So, I'll share my own company's example. When we decided to implement, Industry 4.0, I think we started in a haphazard manner. Okay, somebody would approach us. Okay, probably I'll just improvise your OE. We said, okay, implemented one of the machines. Then we said, okay, I'm going to help you improvise your quality by doing, camera scannings. Okay. But then we started realizing that at the end of the day, what matters, and to the management specifically, is the ROI. Soon we realized that this is not the right way to go about it. I think it is very much essential that you drive a digital transformation roadmap and link it with the ROI. And that's how it's going to make sense for everybody in the organization. So what we did was, along with our business strategy, we created our own digitization strategy and roadmap. Now, I'll give you a very quick example. If you look at our balance sheet consists 70% of the RM. And I would say probably about 20% of the process, right? And then 10 are kind of the overheads. So implementing digitization or IoT on the RM side, that is the raw material side, would yield much more better results than, would implementing it on the 30% of it. So we decided that, okay, first thing what you want to attack is probably from the, how do we manage our inventories on the line? So we started implementing IoT or Industry 4.0 from that perspective. And that gave much more better results. So my suggestion is, before you apply into it, please make sure that, have a digital strategy in place and just do not, follow the hype. That's what, my viewpoint on it.
Thank you so much, Nishan. So that gives us one perspective of the organization that, and I completely agree with you. Having a digital journey, or rather a goal in mind, a long-term goal. You can take smaller steps, but if you don't know what your goal is, then you will never be able to achieve that. So completely agree with you on that part. And I would like to go to Arvind and kind of ask his idea on that. See, it's like this. You have been working with a lot of organizations, right? What do you recommend them? How do they start? What would be your this thing around the journey? Like, what are the benefits that you have, your partners have seen who have engaged with you, for example? Let's put it across that. I'm sorry to put you on a spot there.
That's okay. Typically, when we interact with a client, we don't go with any particular solution approach, say whether it's a condition monitoring, or are we trying to attack one of the production unit as such. We try to understand from the business perspective. So, what business problems are they facing currently, and how those problems can be addressed, right? We look at it across the value chain, say whether it is a planning process, procurement process, make process, deliver process, or even a return process. When we look at the entire map of a value chain, we understand there are a need for a digital transformation, say in a planning phase, in a procurement phase, as well as in a make and deliver. Then we try to attack which are the contributing factor, as Nishant said. So you look at the variable factors which contributes more to the effective ROI. A, B is there has to be a tangible results to a business and to a financial outcome, right? Until unless we tag to the business and financial outcome, the CEO or a CXO level will not be appreciating no matter what technology we talk about and what transformation that we bring onto the table, right? So through that we pick up few insights within their team, because we conduct a 2 to 3 days of dipstick study. We understand and analyze each areas of a business processes, systems and applications, and study the behavior of the people, because within a plant there is a unit, there is a work center, and there is an asset, right? We look at it how people are integrated with that. So work center versus workforce, and then define certain approaches which are the primary critical asset or a process that can be attacked. So once we zero down on a particular critical asset or a critical process in place, then we try to get a meaningful outcome for that particular process. And then we engage the right departments, which comes from the top down, because once the CXO level says that, yes, of course, we need to sit and do certain process, they all follow. Or else the department would say, I do not want to collaborate the other department. Say, for an example, foundry do not want to collaborate with the production do not want to collaborate with the assembly, because they all have their own OEEs and their targets, right? So these are the challenges, and this is how we attack the business processes with CXO level. And they're glad to extend their arms to bring the right people into the process, identify the right talent who has an inquisitive to learn, who want to bring the change into the system, and also willing to learn and grow with the process.
Now, that is a very good topic that you talked about, Arvind. So it has to be a, so yes, it's at the end of the day, everybody have to be brought in, right? It's a collaboration of multiple people together.
Yes.
Like I said, not an army, but definitely some people who need to collaborate together and work together. So maybe Ashish, you want to give a take at your side in terms of how has this journey been, and what are the values that you have seen so far, or benefits that you have seen so far?
Sure, thank you, Amit. I would rather concur with what Nishant had put forward. That it's not only about IoT, but it's rather a digital transformation that companies are into right now. And being a buzzword, so digital transformation is not only about technology, or it ceased to be about only technology, but it rather moved on to the processes, to the people, to the culture, and also to the mindset of the organization. And that's holistically how it is approached. In our company as well, we have taken a structured and methodical approach, starting from issue identification to the solution and solution design and defining of those. So the entire organization got into one value stream mapping, and the strategy part was conducted, whereby the business strategy was tied up with the digital strategy roadmap. So we have a digital strategy roadmap, and we are executing it. We are on the path to execute a few of the initiatives now in this space. But before I get on to what we are doing, I would just like to share one example of what I've seen here as a member of the CII Rajasthan Startup Innovation and IT panel. I happened to visit a company here in Jaipur, one of the MSMEs again, and just by sheer change of culture and mindset, the company is operating in a one complete shift in a light out manner. What it means is that there is nobody to operate and monitor the machines throughout the night shift. And the machines are pre-fed with the input materials such that they are going to last for the entire shift. And maintenance is done properly to ensure that the machines run smoothly. Any stoppage or breakdown of the machines, they are attended the next day and the next morning shift. So with just bit of change in the working style and the thought process there, they are now observing huge savings in the electricity, one, two, in the manpower, and third, the productivity as well, because the machines are continuously running. So there is nobody to track those or monitor those. Now, they have achieved the manless state and the complete light out state in their company for a particular shift. So that is what I really appreciated that. And coming to us, Amit, what we are doing is that we are, one of the key initiatives is digital performance management, and that's about the real-time data in our plant and factory and visibility of that data so that we can take real-time decisions. And it's a huge scale that we are operating here. So we're connecting more than 500 machines in one plant, and the real-time data for condition monitoring one that Arvind also put forward, that and many other use cases being followed, focus being OEE. Then the other thing that we have done is in this space is that we have integrated our suppliers into our value chain with the help of technology, and that to cloud technology. So what we see that we are now sharing the schedules and demands with our suppliers, and in turn they are sharing schedules and demands, shipment details with us, back everything online. And this has helped us shorten the process by 30% of the time that it used to take. And so few examples just to cite here, Amit, that technology is here. Leave aside the RFID, QR codes, RFID for asset tracking, QR codes in the challans, etc. That gives us seamless tracking. So these are few initiatives that we have implemented. We also see a lot of scope in the workflow applications, and that's where the say efficiency also lies. The productivity of the office manpower lies. If we are really able to automate that part to a certain extent, and we are putting a lot of emphasis there to streamline the workflow in the organization. So smart energy management being the other, we are already done in a couple of plants. 2 plants are already moved on to the smart energy management as well. So observing savings there in the electricity consumption per se and per capita consumption is what I would say.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ashish. So this is actually very heartwarming to see that you have seen value. There are definitely tangible things that you have at your end. And Pankaj, coming to you, you have a dual role here, right? First being a SME by yourself, right? Where you are running your own organization and trying to see what are the benefits that you can bring in from, let's say, a digital adoption or digitalization, let's put it across that way, right? Which Nishant talked about. So when you are starting your journey as an SME and also as an as a representative of, let's say, Elevators Association, what are your take at it? What are the things that you want to start as an SME? What are the problem statements that you will kickstart and start with, and then obviously want to see those converged in a more larger forum across, let's say, all the elevators that you're working on, for example, let's say?
Thank you. First of all, I was late busy with some other things. And you know what digitalization is being adopted across the world is having a different scenario compared to our country. Other countries are also similar to us, but our scene is quite different. What I have observed from European point of view, American point of view, and different countries, Japanese point of view, and all. We are extremely scattered and unorganized sector since we are doing a lot of things. We are manufacturing a lot of things. As an MSME, we are backbone to big manufacturers. But give and take is also not happened today with digitalization. If any big company has adopted digitalization, same thing is not happening with the MSME. So now I will be putting some points with you that how we can work with that. Simply, earlier accounting was done manually. Now it has become digitalized. Similar things has to happen in manufacturing. Start from the concept creation, designing, manufacturing, testing, compliance, and delivery. If we can reach that very important segment, all big manufacturers, if you talk about the BAIL, if you talk about the Hero, if you talk about any manufacturer in India, they are partially dependent on MSMEs. We don't manufacture everything in-house under one roof. Same thing is happening in Europe. Same thing is happening in US. They are manufacturing even raw material in-house, then processing and market. Here, what is happening? MSMEs are involved in smaller scale, in scattered way. Now the problem what we are facing, what my buyer wanted to have, how much quantum they want, we don't know. There is a competition. Sometimes what happened, belts are manufactured in bulk, but buckles are forgotten. So matching of the belts and buckle is not resulting into the market. So how we can create an ecosystem when you are considering one manufacturer? BAIL is a one manufacturer who is doing a lot of process under one roof. They have a lot of departments. They have a lot of people working under different processes. Here, entire country in one segment or one product is a one factory for you, where all the MSMEs are covered, and you have to provide some solution in such a way that all of they are well guided. They know what to manufacture, they know how to manufacture, they know when to manufacture. Then only we may be able to do some change in our entire ecosystem, which is really going to affect entire economy of the nation. Today, my interest was to address some points with MSME Commissioner, but because of some reason, he is not here. But when you people are there, one side is closed, second side is open for me. So what we are expecting as a, I'm in this field since last more than 15-20 years, collaboratively working with other MSMEs and all. What we are lacking with the manpower, we are lacking with the technology, we are lacking with the raw material, we are lacking with the knowledge. A lot of things are there. Only infrastructure is there, people are there, and we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. Yesterday, if you take an example, yesterday I was manufacturing some components for lathe manufacturer, where I was an MSME to supply some components to the lathe manufacturer. Suddenly, manually operated lathe manufacturing has stopped and CNC has came into the picture. I don't know how to go ahead with what is my customer is in need of. Who is going to become my new customer? I don't know. Now with Industry 4.0, something else is going to happen. So I don't know. If something is there in between, this role can be played very well by hardware and software people by providing some type of platform wherein one segment, one component, everybody is there in one cloud. We can request from your side and our side to government to make some win-win situation in between, so that raw material availability, process, and manufacturing, and we can control excessive manufacturing also. Why we are losing? When the milk was required in the morning, we were not having the milk, so I paid higher rates. And in the noon, milk was excessively available, and I am not getting the rate. Similar things are happening with the farming. We are also in the same situation. When the potatoes are farmed, there is no customer. And when the customer is there, potatoes are not available. So to make a win-win situation, you people are there. I can see a lot of big companies are there like NBC, who must be working with small manufacturers for their needs. And we have a lot many people from hardware and software. So you can think on this. We need to have help on product standardization, product manufacturing, compliance of it, then safety aspects, human aspects, HR aspects. A lot of aspects are there which can be compilely addressed, and it should be designed for Indian MSME, and it should be benefited to them. Then I'm extremely hopeful that everybody will join. Yesterday, we had a short discussion that customer is lacking. So I can say in accounting, digitalization, nobody is waiting. Everybody has started doing that. So
finance, no, absolutely, sir. So I just want to cut. So see, we are running a little short on time, but I basically wanted to do one thing. And thank you so much for being open, because you have given us a good insight about some of the challenges that an MSME is facing, right? And one thing that you just highlighted, which is basically just-in-time inventory. I think this is a holy grail for anybody, for that matter, right? Everybody wants it. Everybody wants to ensure that there is zero inventory loss. There is nothing happening. Whenever I need something, I just have it next to me. And they are all of these something that are work in progress. I personally believe human being is an extremely adaptable animal, right? It's a jungle out there. Everybody is there to adapt. Everybody is there to win, and everybody is there to start working. It's just that we are also social. So we have to help each other, and we have to build this together, right? That's essentially what we are all talking about and what you have highlighted. So Tajinder ji, for your this thing, just a one-liner, just to wrap up, what would be like, what do you suggest or what do you recommend, because you are representing industries from Gujarat and also a very good function of IT. So my question to you would be in a single liner, what are the things that you want to start with, and where do you start with? Are there any things that you want to recommend to all the participants? Obviously NASSCOM is there as part of it, which is going to build the bridge, but what are your thoughts around it?
See, one wonderful thing has happened despite let's say a bad year called COVID. COVID has done for digitization what no other CTO could possibly do. So that digitization, the need of digitization has been clearly established. So we had workforces which were compulsorily needed in offices, in factories, and everywhere. And we have now evolved methods, even if there are jugaad methods, for these workforces to work from home or work from anywhere. That is the new buzzword. I think this will definitely ensure that a lot of IoT implementations will actually happen to support or to enable this process, whether it is education, whether it is government, whether it is industry, and whether it is consumer. Consumer was already using it, but compulsorily he became more addicted to it. I think we have digitization coming in at all levels. What we need is, if we want this to prosper, what we need is industry talking to IT professionals or IT companies or new startups and talking about their problem statement, making them aware on how they are doing their processes. Maybe they make 2 trials, they make 3 trials, but sooner rather than later, they will come up with solutions that will fit their bill. See, trying to pick up a ready-made large solution and trying to fit it into an MSME is not a viable option. So possibly we will require innovative people. People are smart, but then as an industry, we will require to make sure that we are able to expose our industry to them. So possibly if CTOs here in larger companies could set up internship programs wherein these guys are brought into their companies and they experience the company and they develop some applications in their internship program within the industry around IoT, and then possibly come out and start their startups or go and work with companies with better experiences and build those solutions for them. Well, it will have to be a hands-on solution building approach. Like today, we may have a lot of custom-built softwares available, but if you look at early 2000, most of the companies were wanting small software applications to be built which are specific to their businesses and processes. I think we need to go back to that.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. What you just rightly talked about, where you need to start together and you want to build it. In fact, for that particular matter, NASSCOM has a great challenge. We have so many people that were there. They can be the conduit and the connection where they can bring the challenges and like what you just rightly said, trying to force fit a solution from outside, which is big, very huge, may not be really relevant from a cost point of view. Definitely. And my thing that I want to just say, and everybody chime in, please, ask, how does it matter? You can just ask. If you need to know about it, you don't know about it, doesn't matter, right? So Tata Sky's policy, puchne mein kya jata hai. So if that is something that we can follow from end organization's point of view, and also openness of this end organizations to allow, like what you just said, some of these startups to come in and start working with them, and also drive small pilots to start with, I think we have a win-win from all sides. So maybe a last comments from everyone in no order, and then I will hand it over to Amit.
Well, probably, what Tejinder mentioned. I said, any kind of movement is a good movement. Companies can look at breaking down into three phases. One is data collection, then data analytics, and the machine learning. What happens is, for the small and medium-sized companies, buzzwords like machine learning and conditional monitoring, these sound scary, right? So they can probably start very small in terms of data collection, and associations like NASSCOM Center of Excellence can probably help bridge this by introducing startups to do it at a very cost-effective manner. Because the major cost in the whole digital transformation journey is the cost of acquisition of data. And I think that's the way to go about it. Those are my
fantastic. So sorry, we are out of time a little bit. So what I want, definitely thank you so much for all your participation, and Pankaj for your insights into the challenges that SMEs are facing. What we definitely want to do together with the NASSCOM and the whole organization is to bridge that gap and bring in the right, I would say, expertise. And we have lots of smart people in India. Absolutely. I'm pretty confident. And like what Tejinder said, Jugaad, we are very good at it. So let's keep that innovation, and let's see how we can address challenges for our MSMEs. Amit, to you.
Absolutely correct. Before Amit starts, buyer is also there, seller is also there, and we are lacking with a mediator. And the mediator is a digitalization to have a very big role to be played, and we can connect other things also. Yes.
There's a need for local industry to be supported by the large enterprises. So while large enterprises, when they look for the solutions, they get their ready-made solutions from countries like China, Taiwan, and other places. A little bit of support could possibly see the local industry flourishing in the country. Their current solutions may not be at par, but a little bit of support, a little bit of patience on each side could possibly ensure that we have solutions in the domestic industry which are at par with international products.
No, absolutely. Tally is a good example of it. There are a lot of those players who are there. All we need is standardization, to be very frank with you. Once we have that standard approach towards problem solving and specifically targeting MSMEs in virtual or regular clusters, I think we can achieve what you just said. So Amit, over to you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Amit, and thank you to everyone for this terrific discussion. It was kind of a pleasure listening to you. There is a lot of points and the food for thought kind of an case. And I think just your last point that Tejinder made, correct, about how large and the MSME industry needs to work together. And I think that's the way kind of forward. There's kind of lot of dependency is there, because I mean that's how the supply chains are whole connected, right? The raw material and everything from the MSME sector goes to the large manufacturing companies. So the success of even the bigger products that large manufacturing companies makes depends on the MSME, and then it's kind of we need to kind of that's way bring everything together. Thank you for
thank you so much
discussion we had, and thank you for coming here and giving the support to this new platform. We look forward to working closely with you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
for moderating such a nice session. Thank you.
Thank you all.